The salary arrives quietly. At the end of the month, it appears in your account like a small reassurance, a signal that everything is fine, that you are safe, that you are doing what you are supposed to do. And for a moment, it feels like stability. But what most people never stop to ask is this: what did that stability cost you? Not in hours, not in effort, but in something far less visible and far more important. Your freedom, your direction, your ability to choose your life without fear. Because the salary is not just money, it is a system, a structure that slowly, subtly reshapes how you think, how you act, and eventually, who you become. At first, it feels like progress. You get a job, you earn, you become independent. There is pride in that. There is dignity in work. There is nothing wrong with earning a living. But something begins to shift over time. You stop asking what you truly want, and you start asking what is safe. You stop thinking in terms of possibility, and you start thinking in terms of risk. And slowly, without noticing it, your life becomes less about choice and more about maintenance. You are no longer building something, you are maintaining something. Maintaining your lifestyle, maintaining your comfort, maintaining your position. And this is where the trap begins. Not because a salary is evil, but because dependency is. The moment your sense of security depends entirely on something external, you lose a part of your internal freedom. And the mind feels this. It adapts. It becomes cautious. It becomes careful. It begins to avoid anything that might threaten that stability. You don't take risks. You don't explore deeply. You don't step into uncertainty. Not because you can't, but because you feel like you shouldn't. And this feeling becomes stronger with time. Because comfort is not neutral. Comfort conditions you. It teaches you to prefer the known over the possible. It rewards predictability. And it quietly punishes deviation. You begin to structure your life around the next paycheck. Your decisions start to revolve around it. Your time becomes tied to it. Your energy is shaped by it. And eventually, your identity starts to merge with it. You are no longer just someone who works. You become your work. And this is where the danger becomes deeper. Because now, leaving is not just a financial decision. It becomes an emotional one, a psychological one, a terrifying one. You are not just risking income. You are risking stability. You are risking identity. You are risking the version of yourself you have built around this structure. And so you stay. Not because you love it, but because you fear the alternative. This is the salary trap. Not a prison made of walls, but a prison made of comfort. A quiet agreement between your fear and your routine. And it is powerful because it does not feel like a trap. It feels like responsibility. It feels like adulthood. It feels like being realistic. But if you look closely, there is a tension inside you, a subtle resistance, a voice that questions things, a part of you that knows this is not the life you imagined. But that voice becomes quieter over time, because every month the salary reinforces the same message: stay where you are. Do not risk. Do not change. You are safe here. And the mind listens. Because the human mind is not built to chase freedom. It is built to avoid loss. It prioritizes safety over growth, certainty over possibility. And this is not weakness, it is biology. But it becomes a problem when that instinct begins to control your entire life. When the avoidance of discomfort becomes the center of your decisions. When fear becomes the silent architect of your future. This is why many people feel stuck, even when everything looks fine from the outside. They are not struggling financially. They are not in crisis. But they feel something missing, a sense of disconnection, a quiet dissatisfaction that they cannot fully explain, because the problem is not their situation, it is their relationship to it. They are not free within it. And this is where Stoic philosophy becomes deeply relevant, because Stoicism does not reject work. It does not reject responsibility, but it rejects dependence. It teaches that true stability does not come from external conditions. It comes from internal control, from the ability to remain steady, regardless of circumstances. Epictetus taught that a person is not disturbed by events, but by their perception of them. And in this context, the event is simple: a job, a salary. But the perception, that is where everything changes. If you see your job as your only source of security, you become fragile. If you see your salary as something you cannot lose, you become controlled. If you build your identity around your role, you become dependent. But if you understand that these things are external, that they can change, that they are not you, then something shifts. You begin to detach, not in a cold or careless way, but in a clear and grounded way. You still work, you still earn, but you are no longer owned by it. And this is the difference between using a system and being used by it. Most people never reach this point because they are too deeply embedded in the structure. Their lifestyle depends on it, their routine is built around it, their comfort is tied to it. And so even if they feel the discomfort, they suppress it, they distract themselves, they tell themselves it is normal, that this is just how life is. But deep down, they know, because there is a cost to this kind of stability, a cost that does not appear immediately, but accumulates slowly. The cost of unrealized potential, the cost of unexplored paths, the cost of a life that could have been different. And this is not about quitting your job. It is not about rejecting structure. It is about seeing clearly, seeing the trade you are making, and deciding consciously instead of unconsciously. Because the most dangerous trap is not the one you are forced into. It is the one you accept without awareness. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca warned about the dangers of comfort, not because comfort is inherently bad, but because it weakens the mind. It makes you less willing to endure difficulty, less capable of facing uncertainty, less prepared for change, and life inevitably changes. No salary is guaranteed, no position is permanent, no structure is stable forever. And if your sense of security is built entirely on something that can disappear, then you are not secure. You are exposed. This is why inner stability matters more than external stability, because it cannot be taken from you. It is built through discipline, through clarity, through the willingness to face discomfort without escaping it. And this is where most people struggle, because they are not used to discomfort. They have structured their lives to avoid it. But growth requires it. Freedom requires it. And the Stoic mindset is not about eliminating fear. It is about seeing through it. Understanding that fear is often not a signal of danger, but a signal of attachment. You are afraid to lose what you depend on. And so the solution is not to eliminate the fear, but to reduce the dependency, to slowly create space between you and the thing you rely on. Not through dramatic action, but through quiet, consistent shifts. You begin to think differently. You begin to act with more awareness. You stop building your entire life around one source of stability. You diversify your sense of control. You invest in your skills, your thinking, your resilience, and over time, something changes. You feel less trapped, Not because your situation has changed dramatically, but because your relationship to it has. You are no longer holding on to it out of fear. You are choosing it, or moving beyond it, from a place of clarity. And this is where true freedom begins, not in the absence of structure, but in the absence of dependence, where you can walk away if needed, where you can endure uncertainty, where you are not controlled by the need to feel safe at all times, because you understand something deeper. That safety is not something you find, it is something you build within yourself. And once you reach that point, the salary loses its power over you. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool, not a cage. And you become something different, not someone who is escaping responsibility, but someone who is no longer afraid of possibility. And in that space, you begin to live again. Not just maintain, not just survive, but choose, because in the end, the salary was never the problem. The job was never the prison. It was the fear of losing them. That kept you there.